You're listening to the Bempire, Bay Electronic Music Performers radio show and Facebook group. I'm joined by actually a lot of people here today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Got a bit of a different show than the last time, but once we get our person back, let me introduce that last track. That was Financial Corporation Mix by Megan McDuffie. You may remember she played a track, or she was a vocalist on a track from the show on the first week. But today I'm actually joined by the people from the meetup that I run, the Laptop Music Production Workshop. So does anybody here want to get started and say hello, introduce yourselves? Who do we have here in the room?
All right. My name is, my stage name is Deathy. My real name is Cliff Anderson. I help run the LMPW workshop with Gene. In fact, I think probably half of the people here are actually the organizers. We have almost the entire active organizing team here today.
Wouldn't explain why we're so disorganized.
So, Gene asked if I wanted to hop on. I was like, expletive, yes, I want to run out into radio with you. I've probably talked long enough for this particular bit, so next.
I'm just Deathy's roadie, so I'm just here to sound enthusiastic about everything everyone plays.
Hey, the more the merrier, right?
That was Susan, and she didn't say her name. I'm Super Score Forrest, and yes, I'm a co-organizer as well. So just excited to be here tonight and share some music.
Hi everyone, my name is Jaya Sajil, and I'm one of the members of that gang. And I'm also excited to be there and share some music. Cheers.
Well, that's everybody on the mics. We also have Ben with us in the studio. He's hanging back on the couch. You might hear him yelling a little bit here and there. So before we get into any music, I mentioned the meetup group a little while ago, but it's actually a really interesting organization. So the Laptop Music Production Workshop is somewhere between a support group and a music production meetup. So there's a lot of groups that do this kind of thing, but not too many that meet up in person. And so I was really happy to find this group where people were getting together, showing their tracks. And what's really unique about this group in particular is that it's more of a music production and development group. So people are in various stages of their musical journey. So we have some professionals, some intermediate folks, and some beginners. And we've got tracks from people at all different levels today, including our heavy hitters here who are sitting around the table. But with that said, the first person who's actually going to be up is you, Deathy.
But before we do that, though, since we're supposed to actually be talking about the music, that first track from Megan that was played,
yes,
it is worth pointing out Megan is actually one of us as well, and she's always showing up with these really fantastic tunes. She's got a lot of variety in her ability, and it's really, really fun to listen to all the different things she creates.
Yes, Megan is probably one of our most accomplished members. We're very happy to have her. Mm-hmm. She's an accomplished synthwave producer, singer. She writes music for games. Lyricist, does trailer music for films. Just pretty much anything that needs music and sound, she got you covered. So that's Megan McDuffie.
Yeah.
And everybody whose track is played is a member, either a regular or a semi-regular member of our group. And so the theme is going to be a little bit different than before, but still local Bay Area electronic music producers. So with that said, Cliff, do you want to talk about the first track? We've got Sweet Tomorrows up first.
Yeah. This track is it's not actually released yet. This is an unreleased track. It's a remix for a friend of mine's album. He's Leonie Laws is the gal that he produces for.
Well, with that, we're up with Sweet Tomorrows by Leonie Laws, and this is the Deathy remix.
you. Oh, oh, oh.
All right, you're back with the Bempire. That was Sweet Tomorrows by Leone Laws, Deathy remix.
Yep.
Tell us about the track, Deathy. We got you right
All
here.
right, yeah. If you listen to the first show, Gene actually played a couple.
One track.
Just one other track. It was one of my personal favorites. The style that I work in for the most part these days is called ghetto funk, which was talked about a little bit. It's kind of this really upbeat, bouncy, happy club sound. One thing that none of the tracks that have been played probably really illustrate much is that it's kind of a bootleg remix underground genre, so you hear a lot of really familiar stuff, heavy in hip-hop influence. It's really, it got me back into music. The style of music did, because it's like I'd stopped making music, kind of get bored with it, and I was living in the Netherlands, and a buddy of mine was doing big hall bass. And from his SoundCloud, it just randomly started playing some ghetto funk. I was like, "What is this?" I got into DJing because of it. It got me back into music production, and quite frankly, I put so much energy into it that it's any other musician knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say every single time I make a song, it's like everything I made before was complete crap.
Well, first of all, I want to say, though I've actually known Deathy for, I guess, like a few years now, and I've seen your production chops really improve drastically, and I really love the sound of ghetto funk, and it's not something that I'd heard much before you started playing tracks. So I've come to really love the genre a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. It is. Yeah.
How do you define it?
Well, it is. That's a little bit tough, but it's predominantly a breakbeat, non-house beat. Heavy electronics, but sometimes it's kind of surprises you a little bit with it. A lot of throwbacks to the 70s and the 80s in particular. And of course, lots of hip hop. You get a lot of hip hop samples in there, scratching, things like that. It's very much a British style, actually. But it's, let's not say that everybody's like Warp 9 is a very big, was a very big ghetto funk producer, and he actually lives here in the Bay Area. Like, I should find out where he is and like stalk him, meet him or
Yeah,
something.
get him on the show, or at least to send some tracks and.
Yeah, well, he actually stopped making music though. He's just straight up engineer now.
Well, maybe you could get him back.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Use your manly wiles.
Well,
We haven't seen that side. of you.
let's open it up to the rest of the crowd. What are your thoughts on the track?
Yeah.
I wonder how much is you and how much was the original.
Oh,
track.
right. The only part of the original that I used was the vocals. Everything else I created from
So the
scratch.
bass
Yeah.
and everything, because Diaz was saying how he liked the bass.
Oh yeah, I
Thank
like.
you, yeah.
First of all, I like the rhythm of the song.
Yeah,
I like the dynamics behind it,
right.
and I really love all this bass line. It like kind of adds the groove, and like you start shaking, you start nodding your head. It's like really moving you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is. It's a very fun bass.
Yeah, I really love that organ sound, which is it's a nice contrast because it's kind of it's not really that hard, but you got some crunchy sounds in there, so
Yeah.
that sort of ba sort of piano
And
thing.
the also got the tension and release is also a big part
Yeah.
of ghetto funk, where you build up and then suddenly you just drop it all for a beat or four, and then it's like right back in full tilt.
And what's that other thing you can get? What is it? Not grunge. Grime that you're always talking
Oh
about.
boy.
Big difference.
Yeah, I
It's
honestly,
dirt,
that's yeah. I don't know that I don't actually know enough about grime to be able to discuss it very well. I just know that ghetto funk inherits a lot of its sounds from grime.
Well, before we move on, could you just give us a quick background of Deathy up to this point?
I will try. I actually can't, but I will try to get a few of the high points.
Give us the book report version.
Yes, okay. I grew up
can make a diorama.
I grew up in the furthest north point you could be on the North American continent. I spent probably about half of my childhood there, where a regular wintertime temperature was negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
We're talking Alaska here.
Yes, this was Barrow, Alaska.
For those of you that are geographically
And
disinclined.
Generally, I lived in Alaska for most of my life until I was, I guess probably about 40, 41, somewhere in there. Moved over to the Netherlands, lived there for a few years, and then moved here to California. Now, in that whole time, since I was about 15 years old, I've been a heavy demo scener, and that has shaped my entire life. Those of you that know who the demo scene are, it's Deathy. Hey, guys, yeah. There's not that many of us, so they might have heard of me. But it's kind of this underground art scene thing that is just a lot of fun to be involved in, and it really pushes its well, I don't know what to call us. Not users.
It's not quite hackers. It's
Yeah,
somewhere
the
between.
members, but even members just feels wrong for such an anarchistic thing. But
It's a collective,
Particip-
very
pushes,
loose.
It pushes
Yeah.
us to excellence, though.
Competitive
because,
art form.
Yes, it is. It is very much. It's a team-based competitive art form. So
Which
yeah,
involves programmers
I can't
and
get it. I
musicians
can't
and artists.
get enough of it.
And
Yeah. Well, I don't think we want to take the whole show talking about the
Yeah.
demos.
Well, we'll come back around to you
Yeah.
when we go to your next track.
Okay.
But next, before we introduce or before we actually play the next track, that's Forrest. That's you, Super Score. We got
Yes.
Jihan's Mind coming up.
That's right.
We're back. That was Jihan's Mind by Superscore.
Yay.
And we got Superscore here with us right now. That's the theme of the show.
That piece is something I've just been working on recently. It is on my SoundCloud, which is Superscore all lowercase. There's another Superscore that's all uppercase, and I don't know, she's somewhere in Europe. Anyway, so that piece is particularly inspired by cryptocurrency and the crypto world. And there is a badass miner in China. His name is Jihan Wu, and he runs a company called Bitmain. And he has a big server farm there, and it was so fascinating to me, and I just kind of started visualizing that. And so a lot of the synthesizers that and the sounds that I kind of came up with there related for me to that sort of experience of seeing that.
That's very cool.
Yeah, something
That's
different.
really cool.
Yeah.
That made me want to say more electronic timpani.
Yeah. So one of the things that our meetup focuses on, obviously, is kind of looking at the mix itself and production. And it's a really massive topic. The number of rabbit holes you could go down trying to get something right. And that's a space that's really new for me. I kind of came up from the world of being a classical musician and with a love of synthesizers at a really young age. And all those things came together for me, and in time I started playing with MIDI technology and playing with DAWs. And so as I've been writing, working on that aspect of things, so hearing this piece just now in this context, very interesting.
When did you start doing the like DAWs and everything?
I started working with DAWs probably about, I want to say 4 years ago. And so, growing up just playing instruments, I played the oboe, I played piano, I played violin. My dad was a concert oboist and a symphony director, and we had all kinds of other musicians in the family. And so the closest I had ever come to playing around with anything in the digital form factor was when he brought home a synthesizer, and I fell in love with it. But it was the first, it was the Casio CZ5000. It was the first analog meets digital synthesizer. And so that was my first row with technology, and technology won. I really just sat down and played a lot of things, and but I've just long been fascinated with synthesizers and just the depth of and range of interesting sounds and harmonics and all of those kinds of things. So.
Forrest was an interesting case. I had actually been attending the meetup for a little while when she came by and was like, I don't know all of this stuff yet, but I want to learn. And actually, it's a big part of why I'm doing this radio show today is because I realized I was sort of hanging back and I really wasn't as involved in the music community as I should have been. And here's somebody who had just moved to the Bay Area and was just jumping in both feet. And I'm like, what am I doing? I need to step up my game here. So, long.
The guy who knows just about everybody.
What's that?
Says the guy who knows just about everybody.
Well, I do now. It didn't start that way. I didn't try to. I just know everybody as a result of just being around and talking. But it was really interesting because I'd sort of been sitting around kind of passively attending this group, and I realized I had a lot to give back. So part of, the long story short, I ended up meeting with Euphoric, who was a big, the founder of this show, actually, and recruited me, and I've been really happy to start it because I think it's a lot of fun to highlight all the Bay Area musicians. And there's so much music going on. Sometimes it's easy to forget that it's happening right here. You don't have to go just to the San Francisco area. Even Marvid's here from East San Jose. The guy I had on last time, he was great. It was a ton of fun. And we're all hiding here, but we don't all know about each other. So write in, talk to us. If you want to get your shit played on the show, email us at the Bempire, Ecoplex Media, wherever you can find us. We'd love to have your stuff on here.
Come out of the bedroom closet.
Exactly. Don't just sit in front of your pair of speakers depressed by yourself wondering, is anybody going to listen to this?
Yeah.
We will.
The meetup was a huge opportunity for me personally because when I came out here, before I even left, I was in South Carolina when I decided to drive all the way out here. And I said, as soon as I get there, I'm going to find a meetup group focused on music one way or another. And I figured I would have to go into San Francisco. So it was really an amazing experience to find LMPW.
Yeah, based in
And
Santa
they're-
Clara,
Yeah.
South Bay.
The LMPW. Now, if you're a musician who is just looking for a group to support your journey, that is us. I mean, it's like, come in. If all you're looking for is somebody to tell you, hey, you made music, awesome. We can
Yes.
totally do that.
That's actually one of the things I wanted to bring up. Like, every track in here is at various stages of radio ready. I mean, some of them are a little bit rougher in the mix, but music production is a journey. You don't really hear about all the bumps that people see along the way. You hear this perfect music, and it's like, how would I ever produce something like that? And our mission is really to support people on their journey, wherever they're going, and especially at the early stages when you're just learning, trying to figure out what's what. And it can be a little bit daunting when there's so much to learn and the support just isn't there.
Yeah, we actually offer triage services, like Gene texting with me last night till after midnight, trying to figure out why my mix wasn't bouncing out loud enough.
We'll
and
talk.
morning wake-up calls.
That's
Right,
true.
Gene?
I needed to get those tracks in by
Your
midday.
other track isn't loud enough. Really, we were just having this conversation like 7 hours ago. Oh my God. Why
I
are you
know.
up?
So we will pick this up a little bit later, but I wanted to go on to our next track by Diaz. Do you want to tell us a little bit before we get started, or should we just play the track?
Okay, so the first thing it's called it's made by Diaz Adil, who is me, and my friend Amambai. I know that it may be like a little bit difficult to pronounce it with a V on it. So the song called Tumba, and it's sung in Kazakh. That's my native language, and yeah, let's go. me and Amambai called Umutumba. It's sang in Kazakh, as I told before. So this is one of my latest tracks that's been released. Honestly, this track was made in like I don't know, maybe in 1 month's time, and all other time took just for to record the record the vocals because we're like I'm here and the other guy who is singing he's in Kazakhstan, where I come from, and yeah, it took us a lot of time to compile it together. So finally we made it. I don't know this song. This song particularly, I was thinking about releasing it in the fall because it's like kind of gives the mood like in the fall when you like, I mean, when you're trying to be on yourself, like alone doing something, I don't know. And yeah, it finally got this time here, like in February 14th. And actually, the song is about it's like kind of basic stuff, like about the guy who is singing about the girl who totally forgot about him. Yeah, and it's been funny how we met each other with this guy who is singing. I met him like I don't know, maybe 10 years ago when I was traveling on a train. At that time, actually, I was like 15, and he was like I don't know, maybe 8 years old. He was really small, and after all that time, he found me on social media, and he told like, I've been listening to your music, and I want to try something. I want to try to do something with you.
Gosh.
That's
Like
really
make some
cool.
kind of collaboration, yeah. And actually, this is the kind of debut for this guy. This is the first time he's doing music, so I think yeah, he's doing good stuff.
Wow.
I like the way how it sounds, the way how it goes onto the music on the instrumental part. Yeah,
I loved how it turned
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Definitely.
thank you so much.
And it's honestly, this was one of the ones that we really got to watch the growth of this particular track because Diaz was bringing in various versions of it as he was working through it and getting our opinions, and also just showing us what he was working on. It was really, really fun to watch. And I remember, like we were kind of trying to come up with a name for the group, I think, because LMPW is just not a great brand name. It says what we are, but it's not a great brand.
Yes.
So we had a meeting for that, and we were taking a break, and Diaz like sits down in his car with me and plays me the version just before the vocals.
Yeah,
And I was like, dude, this is so amazing. It's really,
thank you.
it's been a lot of fun to watch this track evolve.
Oh yeah, actually, so when I came first time at LMPW,
Laptop Music Production Workshop. We've
yeah.
been using that
This is a
acronym a lot.
sponsored broadcast.
Plug.
We're a community group. We don't we don't get anything from this, but it's just it's helpful to get the word out. But anyway, go on.
yeah, I found first of all I found this group on Meetup application, and I think that was really great thing because meeting other people who are doing the same stuff as you, like who like many of them have more skills, more experience than you. It makes you grow like personally. It makes you strive to get a better sound. And yeah, all these guys they were here when I just started making this track. Of course, I showed them a lot of other tracks. One of
Yeah.
them will be coming after.
Yep.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, right now I'm not coming that frequent, but I mean, honestly, I every time think like maybe I could get some opportunities to come on Tuesday. So yeah, I really would like to say thanks to all of the members because I really improved my sound, and I found a lot of friends with whom like I'm hanging, just like right now.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
we're just
And,
here hanging out.
No.
It's great.
Just a little background for myself. I'm from Kazakhstan. I'm 26 years old, and actually I'm doing master's degree. But at the same time, I'm very interested in doing some electronic music.
Yeah.
And what do I say more? The first DAW I was doing music on was Fruity Loops Studio or like FL Studio. I know, yeah. I mean, it took me like maybe 30 times to install and uninstall back because I was really, all the time I was angry that it's not working the way I wanted, and I was always uninstalling it. And right now I ended up on working on Logic. And yeah, I found Logic very intuitive, and very
Yeah.
powerful though.
Diaz, I think, thinking back on the past year,
Yeah.
you have created so much amazing music, and just
Thank
watching
you.
your growth trajectory has been amazing.
Thank you
And
so
on
much.
this piece in particular, it was really special the last time you brought it, and we were all, when we saw the vocals come together with the track, it was amazing. And you had said, so we had talked a little bit about maybe adding a little more, and so you actually did that, right? You actually got back in touch with the guy, and
Yeah, I added the background song on the instrumental breaks.
yeah.
Between the intro, between the first verse, because before it was sounding like kind of empty, and this idea came to me like at the very last time, and I was asking my the mastering guy to hold on, just to give me a couple of days more to
Wait
write something
a
on
little
top.
longer.
Yeah.
5 more minutes.
And I think that was a good idea, because right now, only after adding all these final touches to the song, only after that I finally thought that, yeah, this sounds just like I want it to sound.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
being a huge Radiohead fan, I could say that also this song's I don't know, sound is inspired mainly by the Present Tense song by Radiohead from their last album, and I was trying to replicate this warm, groovy sound,
Right.
and by adding just a little electronics on top of it. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, we should add that we were noting that the bass was not as present in this version or not in the
Well,
version. It
Could
wasn't
just be in
coming
what
out.
we're
Yeah,
hearing
it's
at our
like-
headphones
It's
too.
just on the local system.
Actually-
I listened to the previous stream and the bass sounded fine from Mixcloud. So the audience is hopefully getting should be getting fine sound.
Yeah. If nothing else, when you listen to this after the fact, it's just going to be the the music played straight back, so it'll sound pretty much how you expect it to.
Yeah.
With that, I want to get into our next set of tracks, so we have three of our more regular music producers, but these other tracks are also from our members. They're not with us, but we'll just be playing tracks from, I believe it was 4. I got 4 tracks,
Sweet.
and the first one coming up is "Okay" by Nora the Lefty. That was Okay by Nora the Lefty. So Nora is actually one of our newer members. She's only been attending for the last couple of meetups, but was really funny because she came in and was like, I didn't know this a group like this existed. It's so great. So we're happy to be a home for the people that are looking for a community of music producers. And if that point hasn't been made clear, that is really what we're all about. I mean, there's professional groups for DJs and music producers and labels and all these things. We serve a very different need, but I think it's a very important one.
Brought to you by LMPW.
LMPW, Laptop Music Production Workshop. So,
brought to you by LMPW.
everybody.
They pay me every time I do.
I wish. So, thoughts on the track? Anybody?
Do you remember what Nora's working in? Do you remember what DAW she's working in?
I think it's Logic.
I think it was Logic.
I
Yeah.
think she's working in Logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one in particular, it's such a clean, crisp house sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it very, very much sounds, hopefully exactly what she was going for. 'Cause it certainly sounds like she hit the nail on the head with the style, what I expect from the style of music. Very, very fun and upbeat. Yeah, and I got to tell you, since she's only been there a couple of times, her broad style hasn't really sunk in with me yet. So I don't know if this is what we have to expect from her, or if she's got branching styles like a lot of our people do.
Yeah, I was listening to some of her tracks on SoundCloud earlier, and there's this sort of like familiar styles with a twist.
Nice.
So I mean, this is like almost a classic house track, but a little bit grungier, huh?
Little Frankie Knuckles.
Yeah. Some 80s Detroit techno.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
Little piano. I like
Yeah.
that.
I don't remember what her musical background is. Seems to me she had like multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah,
or
I think
something.
she's
Yeah,
multi-
something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
believe
We'll
so.
have to get Nora on the show next time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Try.
Yeah, as many people as I can get on the show, of course. Should we move on to the next track?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
go
So
for it.
coming up next is Capybara by Riley Farrell.
Awesome.
Riley unfortunately
Our dear
couldn't join
departed
us.
Riley.
Yes, he was with us earlier today, but something came up. So we're playing a track from him.
Miss you, Riley.
We'd love to have you back. But this is Capybara by Riley Farrell. That was Capybara by Riley Farrell. Riley isn't here to defend himself, but as another big nerd, I can say he's talked a lot about his inspiration from a lot of video game music soundtracks, particularly from the 16-bit and 32-bit era, Super Nintendo, PlayStation, a lot of things from like Squaresoft and these sorts of some of the Japanese role-playing games and things like that. And I listened to a lot of the same kind of stuff growing up, and I really hear that sound in it, and it's very well done.
Riley just has this innate sense of chord progressions that just can kind of, provoke an emotional response. I was saying earlier that every time I hear a new piece from Riley, I just want to crawl inside his brain and figure out, how did this happen? This is just amazing.
Yeah.
So he really has a sense for composition and how sounds come together. And
he's a really, very nice guy. Like every time he comes to the meetup, he's always asking for any feedback, and I think he takes it very seriously.
Well,
he always
pulls out the notebook.
He writes it down. Yeah, and he's very gracious about it. And I think
and
Riley, if you're listening to this, I think you're better than you give yourself credit for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's also he's another one of our people that plays in a lot of different styles, and at first it doesn't seem like it because he does come back very much to the slow Japanese RPG style, almost menu music. It kind of sounds like Final Fantasy menu music sometimes.
Yeah, I can attest to that personally. We actually worked on a commercial for Bitcoin Cash recently together. And you guys might have remembered seeing this little ad that they were creating for a kind of a grassroots marketing effort. And so in a panic, I called Riley and said, "Get over here. Let's figure this out. Let's write something."
Yeah.
And he sat down and we just cranked something out. It was amazing.
Just like a lot of the guys who write music for video games, Riley has definitely stepped into that sort of like, I can write whatever style I need to for the project. Because, if you're working in that medium, somebody asks you, I need something that sounds like this but isn't copyright infringing. You're like, okay. That's just how, contracts in the video game world work, and you really have to be very versatile, and the people that survive are the ones that can adapt. All right, I'm going to move on to our next track.
Great.
This is Journey Through the Stars by Robbie Huiris.
Nice.
That was Journey Through the Stars by Robbie Huiris. You know, I've really become close friends with everybody who's in the group.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's got a good bit of stickiness to it. I've been to a few meetup groups, but I've never been to one where I see the same number of regulars coming time after time. It feels like we have a really good core group.
So just a little background on Helen. For the longest time, Helen was the one to make sure we had a space to even meet at Hacker Dojo. And then when, by the way, another shout out to Cogswell College and also to Julius Dobos, who kind of helped us move into a bigger, better space that was more appropriate for what we were doing. But Helen was setting this up for us all the time. Helen has not yet made any music of her own, but she's been for years a devoted member of the group and kind of a co-organizer of the group. And then she's been making her way over to
every time too.
And she's been coming over to Cogswell, even though Hacker Dojo is kind of her home.
There is a similar group to us called the San Francisco Electronic Music Meetup Group. No, they're pretty much as cool as we are. But if you aren't based in the South Bay, there are other groups like us, and I always try to send as much love their way as possible because they support us. They've brought us speakers, really cool events, and although we're not as close, they're actually in Emeryville, but they're another really fantastic group. So if you happen to be in the East Bay or San Francisco, SFEMM, they're on Meetup, they're on Facebook, check them out too. You play your tracks and you get some feedback and you join with a community of local music makers. So the last track from some of our members that aren't sitting here today is More or Less by Petriform. We'll talk a little bit more about Petriform. Take a listen.
Another time to find her in the daily grind. She knows this.
That was More or Less by Petriform off of his recent album Ultramarine. So for those of you who some of you actually may know Petriform. He's a local electronic music artist. He's probably more well known for his chiptune stuff. He does a lot of pop punks, chiptune.
Right, yeah. And drum and bass.
Yeah, drum and bass.
Now, okay, I was
Ambient,
blanking on the name.
a lot of different styles, but
He's a cool guy. I like Paul.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, so the song is titled Shukran Allah. It's a remix of a Bollywood love song. And I made this while I was living in the Netherlands just before I was returning to the United States, so it captures a lot of my feelings of that era. And the other thing to say about it is like, while I was working on this tune, I was actually able to see and recognize when I gained a skill point in my music production. Actually, it was one of the new powers tiers, because I suddenly like boom, oh wow, I'm sounding way better. I gained a skill point. Yay! So yeah, I was really happy with how this song comes together, but it's not great in the club because it's super stereo.
All right, so this is Shukran Allah by Daffy, and let's hear it.
Purpose
All right, so that was Shukran Allah, which was a remix by myself, Deathy. There's a lot of places where I'm doing a lot of very deliberate things with the stereo that has the sound sweeping, around in your
Panning
head.
around.
And that was in particular, but I also, I got a little bit better at, I'm not a very good scratcher, but I can do some turntablism. I call myself a production turntablist, which means that if you give me a few hours at the turntables, I'll squeeze out about 2 or 3 minutes of good sounding scratches. But that's all you need for a song, so it's worth the effort. Just don't ask me to scratch live. Can't happen. So yeah, it was just like really the structure of the song was a lot more complex than what I'd done previously as well. It was generally, that song was kind of a watershed for me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely not a bike shed.
Well, if that's that, we're moving on
Great.
to Super Score for
Yeah, I
your
think
second
we
track
have
for the night.
One more track here. This track is called In the Deep, and it was just fun with synthesizers.
All right. Let's take a listen.
So that was In the Deep, and that track has not been released anywhere. Actually, that's a good example of something we call work in progress. Work in progress is always welcome in the meetup. That's something I just started experimenting with, and I'm just having a lot of fun with it. So it's got a little ways to go.
Yeah, I think I remember when you brought that one in, I was giving you a little bit of feedback of like making the modulate the, the waveforms at different times and things like that. Is this that track? I'm trying to remember.
This is, and
Yeah.
it hasn't made much progress since then because I've been focused on other tracks. But a lot of the stuff I have been cranking out this last year has been a little dark. It's kind of like when a pop singer, like the first year, it's all broken heart love songs, and then from there, it gets, it evolves a little bit. So I think this is like, for me, it's like these dark kind of pieces that, yeah.
Whereas we're trying to get Diaz to do less.
Take
Very
a lot
good.
of inspiration from Vangelis, from Tangerine Dream, and And also from great symphonic works like I love Rachmaninoff.
Mm-hmm.
I love Mozart. I love, yeah, so, you know, it kind of all comes together and just kind of playing around with some of that thematically. I think it plays out. So we'll see where that goes.
Remembering it, I called it Currents. It's the first thing that came to me today, because before it has just like, you know, like kind of strange name, like nice fast beats. So yeah, I decided to name it Currents. Here we go.
All right, so this is Currents by Dias Adil.
Actually, it's funny how I created this song. Many of my songs, they are like in a slower tempo, and they are more of the minor scale. So I was just like thinking about to do something completely opposite, and yeah, I got this track. It's like really fast for myself, and I was trying to make some kind of different music from the ones that I do usually.
What's that?
So,
when I broke your speaker?
For those of you who don't know,
Yeah.
FM84 is one of these rising stars in the synthwave scene, and he's right here in the Bay Area. I actually just spoke with him the other day. He's living in Mountain View these days. They just had a mini tour last year, and they're probably going to go on another one. So if you like synthwave, 80s, retro wave, that sort of thing, check out FM84. Really great guy. I'm actually going to be playing one of his tracks on a future show. We got a good retro wave scene here.
Yeah.
Complete with a couple DeLoreans, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
right,
more
yeah.
than
Okay,
one?
so now if
Yeah, no,
Cole
I
is
believe
in
there
my
is two,
hometown
yeah.
now, the guy right across the street has one as well. I wonder if it's Cole.
You should check.
Yeah.
You want to bring your tracks up to the next level? Come join us. We're Laptop Music Production Workshop. We meet at Cogswell College every other Tuesday. Meetup is the best way to find us.
Meetup. Sign up on meetup.com, and come on out to Cogswell.
Or
I
just show
think-
up without
Or
signing up.
you don't.
You don't even need to sign up. Just show up. We are not an elitist group. We don't
No.
discriminate. We
No,
really want
no.
anybody to come in. I mean, music production is, it's a lonely world. So the more the merrier, really. We're not. So if you've got nothing to do on a Tuesday night, 7:30, we're going to be starting an album project. So many music producers, so many different styles. So I also wanted to say again, thank you very much for having Ecoplex Media host us. They do have a Patreon, so any support that you can provide is great. It's a really wonderful opportunity for shows like ours to exist. So if you like what Dave and Ecoplex Media is doing, they've got a lot of other shows, talking to conspiracy theorists, sex-positive shows. We're probably the most boring show they've got.
I was gonna say, man.
So, it's really...
Positive music workshop.
I don't know if it's about music. I think it's just about. It's called "Go Fuck Yourself." Is the name of that podcast. So we're allowed to swear
I'll
here.
stop worrying about my friend.
Yeah, 'cause it sounds more like Anglo-Saxon.
So that's Ecoplex Media. You can find them on Facebook. Try to remember. I think it's just ecoplexmedia.com.
My SoundCloud is Diasadil and Diasadil and
Underscore.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So-
All right. got it,
Diasadil _
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Okay.
Sorry.
Great.
And I also have a YouTube link, which is simply the same thing, Dias Adil, and yeah.
So Andrew Danawi, aka Hawk Dan, is the owner of Raging Bear Records. He has a mastering studio up in Redwood City. So if you're looking to get your tracks finished, look up Hawk Dan or Andrew HAWKDAN. Hawk Dan.
Sensory deprivation while you wait.
Yeah, he runs a sensory deprivation tank / mastering studio, which is almost the same thing, just without the water. But no, he's a really, really great guy. He's been a wonderful addition to our meetup. We love having him.
Yeah.
Really, really knowledgeable about music, and his services are very reasonable. This is Inward Journey by Hawk Dan.
Bye,
So,
everybody.
good night, everybody.
Bye.
Hope you enjoy this last track.